Working. Okay, yeah, I guess it is. Hi, how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett, and I am the Front Porch Conservative, and this is Front Porch Brunch, our little weekend get-together where we talk about the news, we give our views, we try to laugh and cry our way through this crazy thing that we call life, and have a good time doing it. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So if you would not mind, I would really appreciate it. Please go ahead and sub to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Trying to climb that mountain of social media notoriety, one little subscriber at a time. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes known as the wise guy in the wide brim. On occasion, I'm called the common man with common sense, but in this moment, as always, I am your host. Again, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on YouTube. So please, subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up button, share the links around, do all those things that you guys do that make this going little concern a going big concern. We're slowly but surely getting there. And with your help, we will get further than we've ever gone before. I cannot thank you guys enough, especially as we're coming down to the end of the year. You know, definitely time to reflect on all the good things that have happened in 2024. And I can honestly say you guys are some of the best parts of it. The laughs, the memes, the comments, you guys are nothing short of amazing. I absolutely love and adore you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're part of Fedora Nation. And I'm glad we're growing this thing together slowly but surely. You guys are totally awesome. So go ahead, pour yourself a cup of something, pull up a chair, settle into the front porch. I got a few things lined up we're going to talk about this morning. We'll have a good time doing it. And as always, God bless you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being part of the coolest audience in the whole of social media, simply known as Fedora Nation. So good to have you guys here this morning. Good to have you in the house. Let's see who all is here. Let's tell you what, we'll start with the YouTube side of things. Good morning, Miss Gypsy. Such a pleasure to see you. Mwah, and Merry Christmas, you lovely lady. Adam, my favorite crazy Canadians in the house. Good morning, brother. Boom. The Duke is with us. Good morning, Duke. Glad to have you here. Let's see. Who all's hanging out on the Rumble side? Well, the Wingnuts are assembling slowly but surely. I see WWG1 has been at work providing us with memes this morning. God love you, WWG1. You're a good man. I don't care what TBA says about you. And Lord, what he says about you. Oh, my God. Well, we're not going to go into that, but that's okay. We'll just ignore what he occasionally says about you and move on from there. TBA is here. I'm sorry. I didn't see you standing over there. I never would have said that to WWG1. Anyway, good morning to you, both of you boys. Boom, boom. Fist bumps all the way around. Oh, my goodness. It is almost... so now WWG1's like, tell me about what TBA said. Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. TBA says, we're here. Here's to hoping that Trudeau of Canada will take a long walk in the snow soon. Shame on you, Brian. What do you mean shame on me? I have nothing to be... I don't know what you're talking about, TBA. I really don't. Shame on me. What is this of which you speak? Oh, my goodness. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Glad to have you guys here this morning. Got a few things set up for us to talk about, and some of it I might wind up ranting over. Well, probably a lot of it I'll wind up ranting over, so you forgive me in advance. But, no, why am I getting coal, TBA? Why am I getting coal? My stocking is hung by the chimney with care. Why am I getting coal? Seriously. Oh, my God. That's terrible, terrible. Jeez, good. Good morning, Rhonda. We're glad to have you here. You know, at least you're not wishing that I have coal in my stocking this morning. Thank goodness for that, Rhonda. Oh, my God. Wait a minute. I'm going to get coal for bearing false witness against you, TBA? Now, listen. I didn't say you said anything bad about WWG1. I'm just saying You have said things about WWG1. I didn't say they were bad or good. You're the one that's implying things. I think you're projecting, sir. I think you are projecting, exactly. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I don't know. Just terrible. Oh, well, this is interesting. Feeling encouraged, was on the bus yesterday. I eavesdropped on a teen boy and a girl having a very based conversation. I've got to tell you something, and this is not to say that every young person coming up behind us is going to wind up being based, as the kids say these days. But I tell you what, there's pockets of hope out there among the youngsters. It really is. It's really interesting to say. Very interesting to say and hear, by the way. So yeah, I'm kind of like you, Duke. I can be encouraged as well. So we shall see. Well, we'll see what happens with this Gen Z generation. They have pockets of conservative populist thinking amongst them. Good morning, Miss Leanne, the unofficial bartender of the electronic front porch. Well, there you go, my love. Good to see you. WWG1 says he's backtracking like a true pilot. What am I backtracking on? I'm not backtracking on anything. I'm trying to simply accommodate everyone who's coming in, to listen into the live stream. That's not backtracking, sir. That's being a good host. Now, if it has the added benefit of getting me out of a, uncomfortable conversation with TBA about things he said about you, I can't help that. I think that's it's one of those fringe benefits, as they call it, a fringe benefit. So there you go. Oh, goodness me. So glad to have you guys here this morning. It is, what are we down to now? Like 4 or 5 days to Christmas? Yeah, that means it's probably time for me to start shopping. No, I'm half joking when I say that. I have done some Christmas shopping, and I need to do a lot more of it today, which I will. It won't take me too long. I think I've mentioned it before in my family. I kind of have, I think most of the members of my family are older. When I say older, the youngest oldster is in their 30s, nephews and their wives and that sort of thing. So there are a handful of children, and they belong to my nephews. And they're wonderful. They're wonderful kids. They really are. Each and every one of them is their own unique, special personality. And, it's amazing watching them grow up, becoming the people that they're going to be. So Christmas shopping for me is fairly easy. Get something for the kids, and then, get something for the adults. And in the case of the adults, God love them, you ask them, is there something specific that I can buy you guys? And they'll say, oh, no, just get me a gift card. Get me and I'm like, okay, and I feel, I don't know how you guys feel about it. And I guess we could talk about it for a few minutes since it is the Christmas season. Are you guys more actual gift givers, or are you guys gift card people? And don't get me wrong, I'm not judging anybody anyway here. So, I always find that, in my case, I was like, man, I kind of feel bad. I wish I were giving something more personal. It's like, but then again, when you ask someone, is there something specific that I can get you for Christmas? And they come back and say, just get me a gift card. I'm like, okay. It's like, what are you going to do? If this is what they're telling you, you're kind of left with no choice here. Well, now, okay. Now this I can respect. Don't like giving gift cards, but certain people prefer it. That is what they get. Okay. Rhonda says, I'm okay at gift giving unless they're joke gifts or something like wrapping presents in 50 layers of... Fair point. Okay, well, all right, that's a good one. That I can respect that too. Totally respect that. Totally. I understand where you're coming from there. That's a good idea. It's not bad either. You're giving them something that actually benefits, something as someone that they care about, which is their pet, be it a dog or a cat or something like that. All right, that's pretty good. That's cool. TBA says, just make them deviled eggs. You'll be forgiven for any lack of presents. 10 trays of deviled. I am not making 10 trays of deviled eggs, you madman. Now look, I'm from West Virginia, and you understand what I'm about to say. Food is love. but there's only just so much love you can put into somebody else's food. Okay. So, God love you for your suggestion of 10 trays of deviled eggs, but that's just not happening. No. My brain and my nerves will not take it because I am one of those frustrated perfectionists. And if it's not just right, I will lose my mind. And trying to make 6 trays of deviled eggs between the peeling will make me lose my mind, if nothing else. They say Chinese water torture is one of the worst things in the world. No, I argue peeling boiled eggs is one of the worst forms of torture in the world. Oy vey. All right. Hickory Farms or wine and gift baskets or a Walmart gift card, says TBA. Well, that's not bad. It's not bad. That's not. WWG1 says there is a downside. I have gift cards from places that have closed down. They're useless. Now, that's a real downside. Honey, we've been needing to show love to our roads for years in West Virginia. It just, yeah, I recently visited Cincinnati, and I love going to Cincinnati for a number of different reasons. Okay. But I knew I was in a different place. There's a little, do you call it a town or a village or whatever? It's Batavia, Ohio. It's just outside of Cincinnati proper. The second that I got to Batavia on the route that I was driving, the roads were paved such that I almost thought they were brand new. I didn't feel a bump. I didn't feel a chug. I didn't any, just smooth as glass. Absolutely smooth as glass. I couldn't believe how good they were. And just, I thought to myself, West Virginia, you could take lessons from these people. TBA over on Rumble says, you think the roads in West Virginia are bad? Try the ones in Michigan. Some of them have been left to go back to nature. Now, TBA, Gypsy might wind up disagreeing with you on that, and I'll let you two kids sort that one out, okay? Just saying. But I cannot really speak to the roads in Michigan. I never really, and this is no offense to any of you Michiganders, I never really travel up that way that often. I really don't. So I really have no basis of comparison. So anyway, tell you what, let us get down to business as we are a wont to do. And again, TBA, I will let you and Gypsy sort that one out. Okay. Anyway, let's get down to business. Oh, wait a minute. It looks, TBA, it looks like Gypsy is agreeing with you on this. Ooh, that's bad. That is bad. Oh, mercy. When you can, that is bad. That's not good at all. All right, let's get down to business as we are a wont to do. And we will start, as is our normal, with the Merry Memes section of the show. And I got a few of them here. Some of them compliments of Adam. Some of them compliments of WWG1. Some of them I dug out on my own. Some one of them I think that Lana sent to me at some point. But anyway, we'll start as we are wont to do with the memes. And, we were just talking about a minute ago. It's kind of funny how it all works out. We were just talking about, what do you get people for Christmas? And if you're a kid buying for your parent, it's even tougher. Especially if you're a little kid. I mean, what do you give to your parent that the parent hasn't already got? But I mean, you're a little kid, you love your mom or your dad, and you want to show them some measure of, devotion and happiness and joy during the holiday season. Now, some kids don't know what to do. Some of them, on the other hand, get extraordinarily creative. I mean, the stuff they come up with is nothing short of amazing. I mean, for example, look at what this kid did. I mean, made a Christmas tree out of wire hanger. Yeah, this might not wind up. Guys, this might not wind up turning out well. Oh, dear. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. I tell you what, she's got a look on her face that just, I don't think Mama's happy with this one. Yeah, I think Mommy Dearest was a little bit peeved. Little bit peeved at this one. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I don't know, man. Maybe this is going to work out. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but I just don't know if the kid really thought this one through before they gave this gift. Just saying. Anyway. All right, let's see what else we have here in the way of the merry memes this morning. Oh, yes, yes. You know, during the holiday season, there's a lot that goes into the preparation for Christmas. I mean, for example, I said I was down in Cincinnati the other day, and for those of you in the southwestern Ohio area, y'all have got an absolute treasure down there. And no, I'm being serious here. This is no BS on my part. I'm being genuinely serious. You guys have a treasure in the Cincinnati Zoo. If you guys have never been there, I really recommend it to you. It is really one of the best laid out facilities I think I've ever seen. And this comes from a guy that doesn't necessarily go to the zoo often. As a matter of fact, that was my first visit to a zoo ever, but laying that aside. But one of the things that the Cincinnati Zoo does at Christmas is they put Christmas lights on everything. Trees, bushes, and it's not just strung out. I mean, it's done very well, very tastefully. I cannot even begin to imagine the amount of hours of work that went into this, because I was walking around with the lady and it just blew my mind. I mean, we're looking at everything and I kept commenting to her. I was like, it's incredible. And we both said the amount, I can't even begin to imagine the amount of hours of work that the staff at the Cincinnati Zoo puts in to that light festival that they put on, because if you're walking through it at the Christmas season, it's nothing short of amazing. Yeah, Leanne, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've never been to the aquarium, but the zoo was extraordinary, especially at Christmas. So, I bring up that example because there's a lot of things at Christmas that people do to prepare for the holidays. And, be it stringing up lights or, for the people who work as Santa Claus at the malls or whatever, they go through a lot of preparations too. But in every city in America, the preparation is always a little bit different. I mean, for example, I'm not sure if other Santa Clauses do this kind of training, but apparently in Chicago, they deem this to be something very important that Santa should be ready for. So, look, like I say, every city is a little bit different in the things they do to prepare for Christmas, especially the people working as the Santa Claus. So, maybe this is something that helps out. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But again, for the Windy City, they feel like that this is. They feel like that this is something they need to do. Just saying. Duke, I hadn't thought about that, but that would be an interesting. That'd be an interesting choice. Now, seriously, I had not stopped to consider this until you said it. But the more I think about a side by side comparison, yeah, I think that would actually work. I think Anne Hathaway could pull that off. Hmm, interesting. If they ever do a remake of Mommy Dearest, which, guys, don't get me wrong, as a rule of thumb, I hate it when Hollywood does a remake. But if they ever do, you know what? That could work. It really could. Really could. Let's see. What else do we have here in the way of the merry memes? Oh. No, I think I mentioned that one before, so I'll skip that. Now, WWG1 sent me this, and you know how WWG1 has a very, very unique sense of humor. And I will tell you up front, I have not listened to this beforehand, but it looks kind of cute. We'll see what we got going on here. Imagine what happens when a parakeet starts talking to a dog. Well, you don't have to imagine anymore. As always, give me a sound check. Check this out. Okay, I gotta say this. I gotta. Oh no! Oh no! I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I did not mean to do that to your cat. Now I will say this: the first couple of 3 times that the bird did that, I'd probably be like, "Aw, that's cute." About the 534th time, I'd be like, "Do we really need to keep this bird?" Because after all, if you love something, you're supposed to set it free. Well, after the 534th time of hearing the bird do that, I'd be ready to set the bird free. Like, hey, there's the window. Get your feathered butt out of here. But it is cute. So, WWG1, on behalf of Fedora Nation, I got to thank you for that one, brother. That's cool. That is really cool. I wonder how long it took the owner to train the bird how to do that. Oh, yeah. TBA says, didn't you hear the dog groan? Yeah, the dog was groaning after the second time. I heard that. I wasn't going to necessarily bring it up, but TBA, you're absolutely right. That dog was like, oh, my God. It's like, oh, jeez. Yep, I feel you. I feel you. So, oh, goodness me. Goodness me. All right. Now, this one is more not necessarily in the way of a meme, but more in the way of a good old fashioned political cartoon. And if you've hung around the electronic front porch long enough, you guys know how much I love my old political cartoons and memes too. The 21st century equivalent. But this one is really kind of hits home during the holiday season. I mean, look, it doesn't matter if you're a kid or you're a grown adult. We all make lists of things that we'd like to get for Christmas. But I don't know about you guys, but this one's kind of poignant because it really does make a point about the state of the American economy. Yeah, when you have to go sit on Santa's lap and give him your grocery list because you'd like to get those things for Christmas, that ought to tell you everything you need to know about where we are. So, yeah. Yeah, I forget if I found that one or somebody sent it to me. I think I was the one that found it, but regardless of how it came to my TBA says the elf looks like Obama. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, But yeah, that one hits home. It really does hit home. So, just saying. Now, this last meme is gonna kind of sort of lead us into our first topic. And you guys know me. Sometimes I'll mention I will WWG1 talking about that elf from the previous meme says, the ears do kind of check out. It might be Obama. Look, again, I'm not saying, but you draw your own conclusions. Now, you guys know me. Whenever I introduce one of these memes, I sometimes will make some commentary. I'll sometimes tell a joke. Sometimes I'll just left standing alone. So, we will. This one we'll just kind of let stand on its own. But it, like I said, it kind of leads into some of what we're going to be talking about here in the next little bit. So I'm going to pop this up and be like, yeah, this one is truly, this one is makes a very good point. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So, oh, now what is this? Did you hear the Mockingbird media say that Trump is not bringing down grocery prices, like 20 of them? Well, I'm not surprised the media is doing that. The media's got to find something to talk about because right now they're kind of out in the cold. I mean, it's truly amazing to me. Truly, truly amazing. Chris from My Morning Mayhem popped in on the Rumble side. Good morning, good people. Well, good morning to you, good sir. And Merry Christmas to you and your family down there in the great state of Georgia. Glad to have you out in the audience this morning, my friend. And Now, if I don't get to talk to you between now and Wednesday of this week, you and yours have a Merry Christmas, brother, and a Happy New Year. I'll be catching up with you in January. So, yes, sir, indeed, we'll be doing some of that. Oh, my goodness. Well, I don't know if Obama was taller than the elf. I don't know how tall Obama is. Maybe it's a big elf. I don't know. We shall see. Oh, is that what it is? Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Okay. Now, this is also a good point. He's not in office yet, and everything is on him. Well, that's kind of going to get to a whole discussion this morning about something that just irritates the living dog crap right out of me. And I'm sorry. I'm going to do my best to be my normal positive, ebullient, bubbly self. But I got to tell you something. Mike Johnson is a freaking idiot. I mean, I have never in my life have I ever watched somebody screw up. I mean, y'all have heard the expression, hadn't got the smarts to fight their way out of a wet paper bag. That's Mike Johnson. I mean, bless his heart. He's the nerd in junior high that got stuffed in the locker. He's that kid. He's just unbelievable, this guy. Ugh. Anyway, as you all by now have probably heard, we have avoided a government shutdown. Woo-hoo-hoo! Thank God for that. I know y'all were scared to death of the possibility that 17% of the federal government would actually shut down. I know I'm relieved. My God, 17% of the government had the possibility of shutting down? Good Lord. Oh, my God. Oh. TBA says, do you have an X account? Go follow Joe Lang. He's got a great take on Mike Johnson's CR bill antics. Well, you know what? Y'all give me 1 second here. Because if I'm not following Joe Lang, I will absolutely do it right now. Because, if TBA gives a recommendation on something like this, well, that just means you better be getting right on it. Who is this Joe Lang gentleman? Am I already following him? Nope, but I'll fix that right now. Okay, got him. I'm there. Thank you, TBA. I appreciate that. But getting back to this whole debacle. We have avoided a government shutdown, and we have done it half-assedly, if I may use that term. We've done it in such a way that we've helped out the Democrats again. We have done it in such a way that potentially ties Donald Trump's hands coming into office on January 20. Potentially. We'll see. And basically, we have once again snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Now, yes, we have avoided a government shutdown. I would argue that, a government shutdown is not a bad thing, especially when you're only shutting down 17% of the government. Because the Social Security checks keep right on going. Medicaid payments and Medicare payments keep right on going. Military defense, right on going. The essential functions of government, we're going to keep on doing. So if the government does shut down, it's only 17%. But the Republicans up on Capitol Hill are such cowards. Now, I'm sorry, there's no other word for them. They're cowards. They're such cowards that ever since Bill Clinton bamboozled them back in the 90s, they've never recovered from it. But we avoided a government shutdown. But it's how we got there that pisses me off the most. And with that, we will start our discussions this morning with NBCnews.com. Oh, now this is an interesting point. Military disability checks do not get sent, but my husband would rather it shut down. Okay, I was not aware of that point. So thank you, Leanne. And also, as always, thank your husband for his service to the country. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're this is just what we're doing is just crazy. But okay, let's get into this article from NBC. Headline: Senate passes bill to avoid a government shutdown, ending funding fight at the 11th hour. Joe Biden is expected to sign the bill to fund the government through March 14th. It does not address the debt ceiling, a key demand from President-elect Donald Trump. Article by Scott Wong, Safil Kapoor, Ali Vitali, Julie Sirkin, Kyle Stewart, and Kate Santales. Man, they put the whole kitchen sink on this story. Dateline Washington. The Senate gave final passage to a bill early Saturday morning to keep the government open for 3 more months, sending it to President Joe Biden's desk at the end of a threat of a government shutdown during the holidays. The vote in the Senate was 85-11. The Republican-controlled House passed the bill hours earlier. Although a final vote technically went past the midnight deadline to avert a shutdown, the White House said Biden would sign the bill Saturday and avoid forcing U.S. troops, U.S. Border Patrol agents, air traffic controllers, and millions of other federal workers to work without pay. Now, wait a minute. Hang on a minute. Hold up a second. So let me get this straight. According to NBC News, U.S. troops, Border Patrol agents, air traffic controllers, and millions of other federal workers would still be working just without pay. And as Leanne points out, there's back pay. So I have a question for the Republicans in Congress that were so scared to death of a government shutdown. Not that I'm trying to inconvenience anyone's lives, and I recognize that federal workers are human beings too. But if the essential functions of government are still going to go on and they're going to get back paid, what are we arguing about here? Anyway, back to the article. Quote, agencies will not shut down and may continue normal operations, said Emily Simons, White House Deputy Press Secretary. She posted on Twitter. The House vote was 366-34, with all opposition coming from Republicans and one member voting president. It capped a tumultuous week that foreshadowed how the new Congress in January might deal with a mercurial Donald Trump back in the White House. The package funds the government at current levels through March 14th and includes $100 billion in disaster aid and one-year farm bill while stripping out a debt limit provision demanded by President-elect Trump earlier in the week. On Wednesday, Trump had threatened to primary any Republican who voted for a funding bill without a debt limit extension. On Friday, 170 Republicans did just that. Quote, we are really grateful that tonight, in bipartisan fashion with overwhelming majorities of the vote, we passed the American Relief Act of 2025. This is a very important piece of legislation. House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, told reporters after the vote, it funds the government, of course, until March of 25. That was a big priority for us. He vowed that, quote, things are going to be very different around here next year when Trump returns and Republicans capture the Senate. Okay, I want to stop talking about this for a second before we go any further with this article. Let's see. I remember the first government shutdown fight back in 95, was it? Or 90? Yeah, it's 95. And I can remember the Republicans, compromising with the Democrats, the Democrats compromising with the Republicans, and everybody keeps promising that things are going to be different the next time around. Now, I don't even begin to know how many of these budget fights there have been since 1995. So we're talking, 05, 15? We're talking almost 30 years of this. Okay? 30 years of this. 30 years of being promised it's going to get better the next time around. I have a question for Mike Johnson. Just when the hell do you intend to start honoring that promise? Not just to me, but how about to millions of Americans across the country? You Republicans have been saying, oh, well, we didn't win this fight, but we'll get them the next time around. God, you're the Washington... What's that fake basketball team that plays the Harlem Globetrotters every time they go out? Was it the Washington Stars? Not the Washington General. Yeah, I think it's the Washington Generals. Yeah, the Washington Generals to the Harlem Globetrotters. The Washington Generals keep saying, well, we'll get the Globetrotters the next time around, and they never do, and they get drubbed all over the court. I am sick and tired of this. I really am. It's like, God bless it. You know, I mean, I know you're going to cave. I know you're going to be a weenie. I know you're going to be stupid. At least be honest about it. You know, at least give me that much. I know what you are. Just tell me the truth about it. You know, it'd be nice. Yeah, Mr. I will never put up a Christmas omnibus bill. Well, guess what? You just did. Which gets to something else, and I'm going to come back to it here in a minute. WWG1 says 126 pages is still a lot better than 1,500. Okay, I'll grant you that, and we're going to get to some of the details here in a minute, but just, I think the part that frustrates me the most, and it's probably going to cause me to wind up ranting about this, is there was a much simpler way of doing this and giving everybody everything they want. And the idea is not original to me, but I probably would have come up with the same thing on my own, to be perfectly honest. And the best way I heard this articulated the other day was Owen Schroyer, who was guest hosting for Alex Jones. He made an absolutely fantastic point. He said, look, there's a real simple way for everybody to get what they want here. Just do single issue bills. That's it. Make the Democrats have to vote against it. And we'll get to some of why Johnson may not have gone that route either, which I've got a criticism of. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to be positive here. It's the Christmas season. Trying to be upbeat, which I will always try to be with you guys. But this one just honks me off to no end. I'm serious. This one's just like, God, this was the layup at the basket. All you got to do is put it in. And Mike Johnson's so damned incompetent, he can't even do that right. All right. Back to this article from NBC. TBA says, I thought that was the way Johnson went. Single issue bill. No, my friend. No. Hold on. TBA, hold on to that, because he was talking about it. He didn't do it. But we'll get to that here in a minute. Back to the article. Just 3 days ago, House and Senate leaders from both parties struck an agreement to keep the government's lights on, but Trump and his billionaire confidant, I love how they phrase that, billionaire confidant, Elon Musk killed the deal, insisting at the 11th hour it needed to extend or abolish the debt limit to make way for Trump's agenda next year. A backup plan, a slimmed down from the original deal endorsed by Trump and Musk, then went down in flames on the House floor, tanked by Democrats as well as 38 Republicans who objected to the debt extension. That left Johnson, who is fighting to keep his speakership, with few good options. After privately huddling with rank and file for more than 2 hours on Friday, Johnson told his party he was pressing forward with Plan C, the same package brought to the floor a day earlier, but without Trump's debt increase. Exiting a private GOP meeting, Johnson told reporters there would not be a shutdown and that House Republicans are unified. Quote, we will not have a government shutdown. We will meet our obligations for our farmers who need aid and for the disaster victims all over the country, and for making sure that military and essential services and everyone who relies on the federal government for a paycheck is paid over the holidays. Johnson said he spoke to Trump and Musk on Friday. I've talked with President Trump in detail. He knows exactly what we're doing, the speaker said. Musk appeared to endorse the plan as the House was voting, writing on social media, Twitter X, that Johnson did a good job given the circumstances. The president-elect had chosen to remain silent on the bill, according to another source familiar with his thinking. Trump's preference was to still address the debt ceiling, the source said, adding Johnson should have listened to when the president told him this a month ago and every conversation since. But Trump may be willing to take a win on funding deals that cut a significant amount of what he saw as pork, the source continued, noting that the process gave Trump's team insight on where the votes are in both parties dealing with the debt limit next year. To get around Trump's last-minute demand of raising the debt ceiling, Republicans have instead agreed to commit to slash more than $2 trillion in government spending and tuck a debt hike likely into a reconciliation package next year, according to multiple lawmakers. Some Republicans doubt the debt limit pact is worth the paper it's written on. Quote, that's called a gentleman's agreement, I think, said Tim Burchett of Tennessee, and there are no gentlemen up here, dude. Well, he's not wrong about that. He's not wrong about that at all. All right, let's get into this. And Adam, you are not far off, my friend. You're not far off at all. Chris from My Morning Mayhem says, we aren't getting a rant? Come on, bring it on. I'm warming up. I am warming up. Joe will become the head of the Washington Generals. Well, he may as well. It's about the only job he might be qualified for, which we got a story about that here in a minute. That's going to make your blood boil. Okay, let's get into this. Let me just start out by saying Mike Johnson's an idiot. He might be a nice guy. He might be, biblical worldview dude. Cool. I don't disagree with either one of those things. Nice people are always appreciated in this world. And, people with a biblical worldview that, actually practice it, okay, makes the world a little bit better place. But when it comes to politics, dude, neither one of those things are helping you out at all. You just screwed up the easiest thing you might possibly do. And I want to go back, to something that others, and particularly articulated by Owen Schroyer, said the other day. Why didn't you just do this as single issue bills? I mean, everybody on Capitol Hill is talking, we need single issue legislation. We need single issue legislation. We got to stop cramming all this stuff into one piece of legislation, yada, 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 yada. Well, after watching all this, if I wasn't convinced before that all that was just, people happy talking their way through something, now I'm absolutely convinced of it. Mike Johnson could have done this very easily, okay? Take these up in single issue bills. Funding of the government, single issue. Aid to farmers, single issue. Additional funds for FEMA for hurricane relief, single issue bill. Increase to the debt limit, single issue bill. Now, and again, to Schroyer's point, would you have had to do some, wiggle room and negotiation and everything else? Yeah. Well, yeah, and WWG1 says, I'm getting multiple reports of what actually happened regarding the bills. Yeah, there's differing reporting on this. There's differing reporting, but where I'm at right now, they basically took, and I think NBC stating it accurately, they basically took the original plan they were going to do last week, except instead of 1,500 pages, they stripped it down about 126, pulled out the debt limit increase, ran it through. Now, you asked me the question, or you may be asking the question, why do I want to see this done as single issue bills? Well, TBA has a good point. Doesn't the Constitution state legislative bills shall be single issue only? Don't know if that's totally true, but let's just put that up there. There's that. But the most important issue is politically two things. Number one, if you do this as single issue, you don't need this. You don't need the Democrats. Okay? And I do and I don't. I don't understand Johnson's obsession with getting Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats to vote for this stuff. The Republicans are in the majority. Do what it takes on the Republican side to get a majority and ram it through. If the Democrats don't like it, the hell with it. I mean, look, I am all for bipartisanship. If both parties agree in principle about what needs to be done. Might disagree on the details of how you get there, but at least in principle, you agree. The problem is the Democrats and the Republicans, at least to all appearances, do not agree on principle. Well, and TBA brings up a good point on the Rumble side. If the Democrats voted for it, they own it. And by the same token, if they don't vote for it, they own that too. That's why I'm saying, put them up as single issue bills. Put them up. Make the Democrats vote against it. Make them have to go back to their constituents and explain why they voted against funding FEMA with more hurricane relief. Make them go back to their constituents and explain to them why it is they voted against increasing, a little bit of help for the farmers who've had a rough time over the past 2 or 3 years. Make them go back and justify it. But instead, you crammed it all into one bill and said, here, we're going to do this. I mean, like I said, if you needed proof that Mike Johnson was the nerd in junior high that got stuffed in the locker, here it is. He just got stuffed in a locker again. Zippy's popping in on the Rumble side. I'm late to a tea party like a rabbit down the hole. Well, I understand that. But welcome, Zippy. We're glad to have you. A hat tip to you, sir, and a fist bump. Boom. Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. They do. It's hatred and the absence of respect, which I guess you could say lack of respect is a symptom of hatred, but it boggles the mind. Now, TBA was gracious enough to pop something in on chat, which I'm going to put up on screen. Let me have a look at this real quick. He had mentioned a gentleman a little bit earlier named Joe Lang, and this is one of the Now, wait a minute. This is an interesting take. Hang on a minute. This is worth talking about. Hang on a second. Now, here's a different perspective on the whole thing. This gentleman, Joe Lang, on Rumble, and he describes himself a professional spitballer, but okay, let's see what he's got. Can you see how Trump and Johnson just played the Democrats and the rhinos? This was the biggest rug pull in congressional history. Here's the setup. Johnson negotiates with the Democrats for a last-minute CR like Congress has done for years now. Exposure. 2 days before the deadline, Johnson pulls out the entire CR so the public can read it. Instantly, Anons dig up poison pills within the bill and expose it on Twitter. These poison pills go viral, and then Elon says he'll fund the primary opponent of anybody who votes for it. Power back to the people, Trump's plan. The American people are outraged and make known to their, quote, representatives. The bill dies instantly, then, which shocks the Democrats and the media. There's the rug pull. Something has changed from the past. Now, here's the trap. Then Johnson negotiates a new deal, cuts out all the garbage. Bill went from 1,547 pages down to 116. Trump posts an endorsement, announces he wants the debt ceiling raised on Biden's watch, along with his new slimmed-down version of the CR. What happens next? Democrats abandon the deal, vote it down. They are angry. Now a government shutdown looms, which is a good thing, and they get the blame. But don't miss this part of the plan. After exposing the scam that's been going on for years in Congress to launder our money, Elon then puts out a picture for the American people that goes instantly viral. 2 bills sitting on a table side by side. That was all planned. Was this? Okay, we're getting into some Q stuff here. Not only did this picture cement the death of the first negotiated bill, but it also set the standard going forward. Because the CR that Trump approved and now added had spotlight, every single page of that 116 CR will now be scrutinized, yada, yada, checkmate. Then Johnson gave the Democrats an alternative he knows they hate, but as a preview of what's to come. He offered the option of a single, which would kill everything. Had already won. That was planned ahead of time. Exposed the scam. All right. Interesting. All right, let me see this other one here. What else has old Mr. Lang got to say about all this? It's an interesting perspective. What else have we got here? Don't miss the second part of the trap. Didn't just trap the House in the game of CR exposure. They also trapped the Senate. Schumer fell for the same trap. He fully expected the same playbook that has happened every time in the past. Schumer expected a 1,547-page CR that gets passed by the House. He had no second option. He got caught with his pants down. Now the House is going to either pass the new Trump-approved CR or the Democrats get the blame for the government shutdown. Trump wins either way, but if the House passes the slimmed-down CR that was approved by Trump, Schumer will face a tough choice. Pass the 116-page CR, pass the 1,547-page version, don't pass the CR and shut down the government. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Okay. All right. Worth some consideration. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I got to think about certain parts of that, but that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Interesting. Okay. Ah, very true, my friend. Very true indeed. Hey, small time. How you doing, brother? Is Congress allergic to a clean CR? Apparently. Apparently they are. But I mean, to me, I mean, and in the end, maybe Joe Lang is right about some of this. We'll see. But I mean, to me, all you got to do, all you would have had to have done, put them in single issue bills, make the Democrats vote against them. And again, I go back to something I started to say a minute ago. I don't understand. I do not understand Mike Johnson's obsession with getting the Democrats to vote with him on stuff. You've got the majority, brother. Yeah, you've got some recalcitrants on your side. You'd have to really elbow on them really good to get them to go along with you, but you can still do it. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, at her lowest point, had a 4-seat majority in the Congress and still got everything through that she wanted done. What? You can't do the same thing? Really? And again, every person who has leadership is different. Their styles are different. Their personalities are different. I don't know. But it seems to me this could have been handled a lot better. Now, what does this mean going forward? Okay. Government is funded until March 14th. Yay, I guess. I do think Johnson does have one point that I will give him. And I don't give him many. Trump comes into office on January 20th. A Republican Senate comes in ahead of him. Now, that Republican Senate is just as much a pit of vipers as the House is, but at least on paper, you've got control of both chambers. Now, we'll see what happens. Could it get better? We'll see. We'll see. Now, to some of the details about what was in or what was not in the bill, I've got a story here from the New York Post. And this is written by Stephen Nelson, Diane Glebova, and Josh Christensen. And again, Congress passes pared down funding bill after Trump objected to initial bloated spending package. President-elect Donald Trump scored a victory early Saturday when Congress passed a slimmed-down bill to keep the government functioning after a much larger spender package. The original 1547-page bill was whittled down to 118 pages and passed the Senate with 37 minutes after midnight Friday. The fleeting lapse in federal spending authority did not cause a government shutdown. Now, as far as what was in and what was not in it, among the provisions nixed in the new compromise bill, no more 4% raises for members of Congress and no reauthorization of the State Department's Global Engagement Center, which has been accused of pushing online censorship. Reams of extraneous policy provisions were removed from the final version, including line item to outlaw the distribution of AI-generated non-consensual pornography and to relinquish the RFK Stadium to officials in Washington, D.C. The package funds, The package funds the government at current levels through March 14th, includes $100 billion in hurricane relief funds and $10 billion in aid to farmers. Republicans support the final version of the package, with just 34 fiscal hawks opposed in the House, while Democrats voted against it. No Democrats voted against it, Mike Johnson said the bill was an important pivot point ahead of Trump's return to the White House next month. This is America First legislation. Oh, God, maybe about throw up in my mouth. Sorry. Because it allows us to set up to deliver for the American people. In January, we will make a sea change in Washington, Johnson said after the bill passed the lower chamber. President Trump will return to D.C. and to the White House, and we will have Republican control of the House and Senate. Things are going to be very different around here. This was a necessary step to bridge the gap. The bill did not include all of Trump's asks, including a last-minute bill to eliminate the debt ceiling to limit Democrat leverage during his presidency, and it cut some GOP-backed items in the initial massive bundle, reducing what pharmacy benefit managers can bill. The bill also sets up another spending debate in less than 3 months as Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy spearhead efforts to identify spending cuts to reduce the deficit during Trump's second term. The legislation includes more than $25 million to the U.S. Marshal and Supreme Court to help guard the homes of justices, as well as other curiosities like a $3 million handout to the Department of Agriculture for verifying and validating the method and protocols for the inspection of molasses. Oh my God. Jeez. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat, New York, who helped tank Thursday's stopgap spending bill, supported the final package, arguing the provisions were good enough and hailing the final decision to reject Trump's request to scrap a federal debt ceiling, which regularly triggers a constitutional crisis. And on it goes. So, now here's the part, and I want to highlight this right here. But in a side deal, the GOP majority agreed to raise the debt limit next year's by $1.5 million via $1.5 trillion by budget reconciliation. The conference also vowed to cut another $2.5 trillion in spending as part of that process that will able to bypass the 60-vote filibuster threshold. That's about the only good thing reconciliation does. So we'll see. What else do we have here that might be worth a mention? A senior congressional Democrat aide said that Johnson had to navigate an incredibly difficult landscape. Quote, I think he just knew that people would blame him in the GOP, but he was juggling all that with wanting to keep the gavel while being hit with asteroids launched by Elon Musk. That's an interesting way of putting it, which I want to get to that point here in a second. Because there is something here that I think is definitely worth noting. Definitely worth noting. So we'll see. We will see. Anyway, so that's some of what is and is not in the bill. In fairness, now this is true, small time. I'll give you this. Had a bunch of NPCs following her lead, whereas Johnson has more independent thinkers to win over. Okay, that point I will give you. I'll give you that. The Wingnuts over on Rumble are chiming in on this. And WWG1's, I thought so too, but as I said, I saw different reports. TBA says mainstream media is full of shite. Of course, they're going to try and BS their audience, raise the debt limit by $1.5 trillion, and cut $2.5 trillion spending. TBA says sets up Doge to go in with a chainsaw on all the different government agencies. Amen to that, and I hope they do. Well, if we need a director for the Department of Molasses Inspection, Duke, I'm signing you up for it, brother. That's all I'm saying. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, so this is where we're at. Now, there is one point to be made about all of this, okay? And, we've been talking for a while on this channel and in other places too about how the media has changed. To one degree or another, thanks in part to Elon Musk and Twitter. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Twitter is perfect by any way, shape, or form. There is no such thing as a perfect social media platform, okay? Be it Rumble or Twitter or Odyssey or BitChute or whatever, okay? Each and every one of them is going to have their moments when you want to tear your hair out. If you have hair left to tear out, okay? But my point is this. When that 1,547-page bill went public, there were people who were just tearing through it, absolutely analyzing it and putting stuff out on Twitter. I mean, there's a young lady out of Utah, and if you're not following her on Twitter, I recommend her to you. Her name is Small Time Republican. Now, let me make sure I've got that right. But she is a data analyst, and let me tell you something. She is something to behold when she goes to work on something. It is absolutely amazing. Let me pull her up here real quick just to make sure I'm saying her name correctly. No, Data Republican. There it is. Yeah, matter of fact, let me just pull her Twitter page up right now. If you guys aren't following her, I really, really recommend her to you. She, especially back during the election, she was something else to watch. Her work analyzing votes and voting and everything else. Just amazing. Here she is. Data Republican, the young lady out of Utah. And she somehow, I don't know how she did this, okay, but she somehow set up some kind of like AI algorithm thing to just go through and analyze that 1,500-page bill. And she was pointing out stuff and data that was like, holy cow, where did you get this? And I'm like, how did you do that? Now, she's just one example, but my point is this. There is now a platform, good and bad, where people can go and talk about this stuff. I mean, everybody, the press gets on Elon Musk about, oh, he killed the bill. If he hadn't stuck his nose into it, we'd have got this thing done 2 days ago. Well, thank God Elon Musk did stick his nose into it. But laying Elon Musk aside for a moment, let's talk about people like Data Republican. Let's talk about all these different, social media influencers who utilize Twitter or YouTube or a Rumble or BitChute. Let's talk about Chris from My Morning Mayhem. Let's talk about, Robert Hur. Let's talk about, Tim. Let's talk about all of them, man. They took one look at this thing, got into the guts of it, and they went, oh, hell no, we don't want this. What are you, nuts? And good on them. And even the media recognizes the power of what was done. I've got a clip here from Chad Pergram of Fox News. A good guy. I like him. Seems like a good egg. But he's got an interesting take on this, and I want you guys to hear it. Check this out.
Right now in the past 30 or 40 minutes here that they might try to pull this interim spending bill off the floor and maybe just go with a clean bill. Unclear what that means for disaster assistance. Here's what happened. A post on X by Elon Musk sent shockwaves through the Capitol. House Republicans were trying to see if they have enough votes to pass the spending bill in the next hour or two. Musk posted that anyone who votes yes should lose their office in 2 years, and lawmakers are scrambling.
Okay. Now, I want to just stop it right there. Now, granted, this was when the first bill, the 1,500 pager, was coming up. And this is what I'm saying. Jim Vandehei over at Axios can get PO'd about this all he wants to, but we are the media. Let me ask you guys a question. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here or anybody else's. I mean, let everybody and their efforts speak for themselves. But let me ask you guys a question. If it weren't for social media, does anybody really think that we would have gotten the result last night that we would have gotten? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that what was done last night was perfect or everything that, populists or conservatives want. But does anybody think that we would have gotten a 128-page bill that, cuts out some, maybe not all, but some of the worst provisions that was in that 1,500-pager? Of course not. That 1,500-page CR would have just sailed right on through, and nobody would have been the wiser until after Joe Biden took his pen off the paper from signing it, and then we would have been stuck with the thing. Instead, when that 1,500-page bill went public, social media went to work, and good morning to you, sir, and Merry Christmas to you and yours. Imagine trying that stuff back in yeah, exactly. And believe me, there was some stuff done back then when social media wasn't around that went through, and we all, we find out, and just like I said, we find out about it after the fact, and we're all like, oh my God, this is just yada, yada, yada. Yeah. But if ever someone like a Jim Vandehei from Axios needed proof that we the people are the press now, the 72 hours that went down from that 1,500-page CR becoming public to what happened last night on final vote in the Senate is proof that the people have some measure of power again. Not completely, Not totally, not as pure as it should be, but it's coming back. And in part, and I'm not saying everything's perfect, but in part, thanks to Twitter. Now again, Elon Musk is doing what he's doing for whatever reasons. I'm not going to impugn his honor. I don't know what's totally going through his mind, but he's doing his thing on his side. Trump's doing his thing on his side. Social media is doing its thing, and now things are happening a little bit better, a little bit imperfect, but getting there. WWG1 says, toot toot, the 1913 income tax was a nice Christmas surprise, as was the Federal Reserve, says WTBA. That's the truth. WWG1 says, we didn't read that bill before it was passed. True point. Now, TBA's got another link here for Twitter. This looks interesting. Hang on a minute. I got to see this. Hang on a second. This might be worth part of our discussions. Let's see what we got here. And, okay, folks, about 15 minutes ago, Biden has signed the stopgap funding bill. The shutdown has officially been averted. Well, yay, I think. Small Time says the Democrats must feel pretty silly as Elon made a bunch of money off government subsidies over the years, helping to fund his... That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If the Democrats are mad at Elon Musk, they might want to go look in the mirror because they kind of helped him build up his fortune that allows him to come back and do what he's doing to them, much to their aggravation. So that's a good point, Small Time. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. TBA says Elon is a former Democrat. Yep. And one more example of the very people the Democrat Party is running off. And by the way, we haven't talked a lot about post-election stuff, but why do I get the strange feeling that the Democrat Party is not going to learn any lessons at all from the 2024 election? Why do I get that funny feeling? Again, I could be wrong, but why do I get that feeling? They're not going to learn a daggone thing. You know what? They're probably, if I had to guess, I'll make you an early prediction right now. If I had to guess, I will bet you come 4 years from now, they're going to argue they didn't do enough of what they did in 2024, and that's why they lost. So they'll find a candidate who was even more woke, more lefty, more whatever than Kamala was, and they'll run them. Now, again, I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be shocked. So, all right. Tell you what, folks, let us move on to another compartment on the train, or topic, as the case may be. And before we do that, let me do a real quick commercial, and then we'll hop right into the next section of Front Porch Brunch. If you've happened on this live stream, and I do appreciate it because it is the weekend before Christmas, and you guys are probably traveling and out doing Christmas shopping, maybe even doing a little early cooking, that sort of thing. If you happen on this live stream, my name's Brian Trippett, and I'm the Front Porch Conservative. This is Front Porch Brunch. This is something we do on the weekends where we get together, we talk about some of the items in the news. And I appreciate everybody who's here this morning. Like I said, I know it's the weekend before Christmas. People are out doing different things. When I finish this live stream, I've got certain family and Christmas responsibilities I'll be doing. So I appreciate you guys being here very, very much. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, would you give me an early Christmas gift? Go ahead and sub to my channel on Rumble and on YouTube. I'd really appreciate it. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Leave a comment in chat and all that good stuff that you guys do. And help me grow this channel. We've been here almost 2 years. God, I can't believe it's 2 years in March. That's just amazing. And I've enjoyed everything I've been doing. It's times I've lacked a lot of sleep because of it, but that's okay. But you guys are totally awesome, and thank you guys for ever being here, being part of Fedora Nation, the best audience on the internet. So sub to the channel, become a member of that great community, and thank you for everything you guys are doing. Okay, a couple of things to read, and then we'll move on. Chris from My Morning Mayhem says, it sounds like some did learn from it, try to change things up, but the majority is now pushing them away. To give AOC a bit of credit, she's one. You know, there's a lot of things you can say about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and that's not a setup to a joke. I'm being serious with this. There are moments when she can say something that makes me think, Lord, girl, you are as dumb as a box of rocks. And then there are some moments when you're like, you know, there's moments when you actually redeem yourself in my eyes. Not totally, but I think she's a little smarter than some Democrats give her credit for. WWG1 says, what do you want more for Christmas? A subscriber or a deviled egg? Ooh, I got to think about that one for a minute. In this case, WWG1, I'll take the subscriber. So there you go. There you go. TBA says, AOC is an idiot. She also claims that she ran for Congress because she answered a casting call. You never know with that bunch. You never quite know. TBA also says, Democrats can run the wokiest lefty known to man, and we'll all laugh them right out of existence. You're right, TBA, but we should laugh them out of existence only after we've defeated them and proved to everybody why the wokiest lefty known to man is a bad idea to put in the White House. So we'll see. And Robert's in the house this morning. Good to have you here, sir, as always. Robert says their plan will be to stonewall Trump's agenda and run a not Trump alternative. Yep. That's what the Democrats would probably like to do. We'll see what happens. All right. Let's move on to a different section of Front Porch Brunch. And I want to show you guys a meme that I found it, was it this morning or was it last night? But it was really, really good. And to me, there's a lot of things that people are trying to do to figure out what is the legacy of Joe Biden. Yeah, I know. Bringing that up a few days before Christmas is something almost intolerable and stomach-turning. My apologies, but I got a story here that has been making the rounds since Thursday, and oh my gosh, we got to talk about it. We have so got to talk about it. But I found this meme, and it does kind of set up an interesting discussion about Joe Biden, and it's this. People are trying to figure out, how should we remember Joe Biden's legacy? Well, this is going to be part of it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the monument that, when it's finally portrayed to the public, will give everybody an understanding about what Joe Biden's legacy in American politics will be. And you know what? If ever a statue, a silent statue, spoke volumes, that one right there, that one just speaks totally to part of the legacy that is Joe Biden. Okay? But there's a little more to it than that. And it's something, what I want to get into now is something that, when we go over it, and I apologize in advance for this, okay? Y'all out there in the audience, the regular members of Fedora Nation, are going to sit there and go, but Brian, we all knew this. Yeah, we did. We all knew what we're about to talk about. Most conservatives, regardless of whether they're a member of this audience or somebody else's audience, knew what we're going to be talking about. People in official Washington, D.C., Democrats and Republicans, knew what we're going to be talking about. The press knew what we're going to be talking about. But the part that makes this story unique is that in the name of trying to do a mea culpa, the American media have probably indicted themselves harder now than they ever have before. Or more to the point, if they didn't indict themselves, this story and a companion piece in the New York Times should get them indicted for basic malpractice. And with that, I've got a story here from the Wall Street Journal. I'm going to go ahead before we even get started with this and drop this on the YouTube side and on the Rumble side. If you have not seen this, I genuinely recommend it to you. Good morning, Midmo. Hope all is well down where you're at, and Merry Christmas, brother. This story came out Thursday in the Wall Street Journal. We're going to read parts of it, not everything, but parts of it. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of commentary about it, and I'd love to get your guys' feedback on this, because I'm going to say some things that might wind up surprising you when we're done going through this thing. And it's not so much who I'm going to be mad at, it's why I'm going to be mad at them. And some of my commentary, I'm going to tell you up front, will be coming from a place of naivete. I know that. But it still doesn't mean that I'm wrong and I don't have a right to be justifiably angry. So with that, let's take a look at a little bit of this story. Headline from the Wall Street Journal: How the White House functioned with a diminished Biden in charge. Aides kept meetings short and controlled access, top advisors acted as go-betweens, and public interactions became more scripted. The administration denied Biden has declined. Article by Annie Linsky, Rebecca Balhas, Emily Glazer, and Siobhan Hughes. We have the following. During the 2020 presidential primary, Jill Biden campaigned so extensively across Iowa that she held events in more counties than her husband, a fact that her press secretary at the time, Michael LaRosa, touted to a local reporter. His superior in the Biden campaign quickly chided him as the three men rode in a minivan through the state's cornfields. Anthony Bernal, then a deputy campaign manager and chief of staff to Jill Biden, pressed LaRosa to contact the reporter and again play down the comparison in campaign appearances between Joe Biden, then 77, and his wife, who is 8 years his junior. Her energetic schedule only highlighted her husband's more plodding pace, LaRosa recalls being told. The message from Biden's team was clear. The more you talk her up, the more you make him look bad, LaRosa said. The small correction foreshadowed how Biden's closest aides and advisors would manage their limitations of the oldest president in U.S. history during his 4 years in the office. To adapt the White House around the needs of a diminished leader, they told visitors to keep meetings focused. Interactions with senior Democrat lawmakers and some cabinet members, including powerful secretaries such as Defense's Lloyd Austin and Treasury's Janet Yellen, were infrequent and grew less frequent. Some legislative leaders had a hard time getting in the president's ear at key moments, including ahead of the U.S. disastrous pullout from Afghanistan. Senior advisors were often put into roles that some administration officials and lawmakers thought Biden should occupy, with people such as National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Senior Counselor Steve Ricchetti, and National Economic Council head Leah Brainard and her predecessors frequently in the position of being the go-betweens for the president. Press aides who compiled packages of news clips for Biden were told by senior staff to exclude negative stories about the president. The president wasn't talking to his own pollsters, as surveys showed him trailing in the 2024 race. Presidents always have gatekeepers, but in Biden's case, the walls around him were higher and the controls were greater, according to Democrat lawmakers, donors, and aides who worked for Biden and other administrations. There were limits over who Biden spoke with, limits on what they said to him, and limits around the sources of information he consumed. Throughout his presidency, a small group of aides stuck close to Biden to assist him, especially when traveling or speaking to the public. Quote, they body him to such a high degree, a person who witnessed it said, adding that the hand holding is anything unlike anything in other recent presidents have ever had. The White House operated this way even as the president and his aides pressed forward with his reelection bid, which unraveled spectacularly after his halting performance in June against Donald Trump, and it was made clear that his mental acuity an insurmountable issue. Vice President Kamala Harris replaced him on the ticket and was decisively defeated by Trump in a shortened campaign, leaving Democrats to debate whether their chances were undercut by Biden's refusal to yield earlier. This account of how the White House functioned with an aging leader at the top of its organizational chart is based on interviews with nearly 50 people, including those who participated in or had direct contact of the operations. Many of those who criticized Biden's insularity said his system nonetheless kept his agenda on track. White House spokesman Andrew Bates said Biden, quote, earned the most accomplished record of any modern commander-in-chief and rebuilt the middle class because of his attention to policy details that impact millions of lives. Bates, who rejected the notion that Biden has declined, added that the president often solicited opinions from outside experts, which was informed his policymaking. He said it is the job of senior White House staff to have high-level meetings regularly and that they were executing Biden's agenda at his direction. He also said that Biden's staff lured the press to significant negative news stories. Bernal, via the White House press office, declined to comment. Okay. Yeah. Robert, you are absolutely right, my friend. Yep. WWG1 says, interesting. This comes from after the New York Times 5 years of covering for him. A sudden disclosure, drip, 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 and then the flood. Yep. TBA says, millions of Americans have been impoverished by Biden's policies. Effing piece of shite, New York Times. There you go. There you go. And Adam, you got a real good point too. You got a really good point as he's leaving office. All right, we're going to take a look at a few. I'm not going to read everything, but there's a few things here that ought to be mentioned. Okay. And we'll start with this paragraph right here. Good days and bad days. The president's slide had been hard to overlook. While preparing last year for an interview with Robert H. Hur, the special counsel who was investigating Biden's handling of classified documents, the president could not recall lines that his team discussed with him. At events, aides often repeated instructions to him, such as where to enter or exit a stage, that would be obvious to the average person. Biden's team even tapped campaign co-chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg, a Hollywood mogul, to find a voice coach to improve the president's fading warble. Biden, now 82, has long operated with a tight-knit circle of advisors. Their protective culture inside the White House intensified because Biden started the presidency at the height of the COVID pandemic. His staff took great care to prevent him from catching the virus by limiting in-person interactions, but the shell constructed for the pandemic was never fully taken down, and his advanced age hardened it. The structure was also designed to prevent Biden, an undisciplined public speaker throughout his half-century political career, from making gaffes or missteps that could damage his image, create political headaches, or upset the world order. The system put Biden in an unusual remove from his cabinet secretaries, chairs of congressional committees, and other high-ranking officials. It also insulated him from the scrutiny of the American public. The strategies largely worked to protect Biden until June 27th, when Biden stood on an Atlanta debate stage with Trump, searching for words and unable to complete his thoughts on live television. Much of the Democrat establishment had accepted the White House line that Biden was able to take the fight to Trump, even in the face of direct evidence to the contrary. And by the way, by way of reminder for that direct evidence to the contrary, folks, if you want to stroll down memory lane, do me a favor and remember this little gem from 2024.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was the moment that Joe Biden was done. There was maybe another, 45, 50 minutes of that debate. When that happened, Joe Biden was done. With not just the debate, his political career. Yeah, he was still president, but even if he had stayed in the race, Donald Trump would have thumped him. He got out of the race, and Trump still thumped Kamala Harris. But if Joe had stayed in, which he could have done, by the way, he could have stayed in, he would have absolutely gotten thumped. Probably worse than what Kamala was, because according to experts, the polling data was setting it up. Trump would have won a 400 vote electoral victory. We're talking a Reagan-esque landslide. States that were just held barely by Kamala, Joe would have lost them after that moment right there. But for 4 years, his staff in the White House and various other people hid him, insulated him, limited his actions to prevent what happened on June 27th. And when that genie got out of the bottle, there was no putting it back in. So back to this Wall Street Journal piece. I want to move a little further just to give you some examples of what this was like. Here's a good one. Check this out. If the president was having an off day, meetings could be scrapped altogether. And on one such occasion, the spring of 21, a national security official explained to another aide why a meeting needed to be rescheduled. Quote, "He has good days and bad days, and today was a bad day, so we're going to address this tomorrow," the former aide recalled the official saying. While it wasn't uncommon for politicians to want more time with the president than they get, some Democrats felt Biden was unusually hard to reach. That was what Representative Adam Smith of Washington found when he tried to share his concerns with the president ahead of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. Smith, a Democrat who then chaired the powerful Armed Services Committee in the House, was alarmed by what he viewed as an overly optimistic comment from Biden as the administration assembled plans for the operation. Quote, "I was begging them to set low expectations," said Smith, who had worked extensively on the issue and harbored concerns about how the withdrawal might go. He sought to talk to Biden directly to share his insights about the region, but couldn't get on the phone with him, Smith said. After the disastrous withdrawal, which left 13 U.S. members and more than 170 Afghans dead, Smith made a critical comment to the Washington Post about the administration's lacking a, quote, clear-eyed view of U.S.-backed Sharaf Ghani's government durability. It was among comments that triggered an angry phone call from Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who ended up getting an earful from the frustrated chairman. Shortly after, Smith got an apologetic call from Biden. It was the only phone call, listen to this, it was the only phone call Biden made to Smith in his 4 years in office, Smith said. The Biden White House was more insulated than most Representative Adam Smith, Democrat, Washington, said, I spoke with Barack Obama on a number of occasions when he was president, and I wasn't even chairman of the committee. Jim Himes of Connecticut, a top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, said his interactions with the White House in the past 2 years were primarily focused on the reauthorization of a vital section of the FISA Act that authorizes broad national security surveillance powers. Biden's senior advisors and other top administration officials worked with Himes on the issue, and he praised the collaboration. But Biden wasn't part of the conversation. Quote, I had no real personal contact with the president. I had more personal contact with Obama, which is sort of strange because I was a lot more junior at the time, said Himes, who took office in 2009. Congress extended the surveillance authority for 2 years instead of the administration's goal of 5. Going a little further into the article, dealing with advisors. Interactions between Biden and many of his cabinet officers were relatively infrequent and often tightly scripted. At least one cabinet member stopped requesting calls with the president because it was clear that such requests wouldn't be welcome, a former senior cabinet aide said. One top cabinet member met one-on-one with the president at most twice in a year and rarely in small groups. Unbelievable. Go a little further into this article. Then we're going to talk about this. Insulated on the campaign. Biden's team also insulated him on the campaign trail. In the summer of 23, one prominent Democrat donor put together a small event for Biden's reelection. The donor was shocked when a campaign official told him that attendees shouldn't expect to have a free-ranging question and answer session with the president. Instead, the organizer was told to send in 2 or 3 questions ahead of time that Biden would answer. And on and on and on it went. Go down to the end of the article. On July 13th, Biden held an uncomfortable call with a group of Democrat lawmakers called the New Democrat Coalition, aimed at reassuring them about his ability to stay in the race. The president told participants that polling showed he was doing fine. He became angry when he was challenged, according to lawmakers on the call. At one point, Biden looked up and abruptly told the group he had to go to church. Some lawmakers on the call believed someone behind him was shutting it down. Biden dropped out of the race 8 days later. All right, let's talk about this for a minute. And I've got various thoughts about this. There are advantages to being old. And I am 53 years old. And one of them is I have 2 things. One is I have a relatively good memory, and number 2, I have a long memory. And when I was reading through this article by the Wall Street Journal, I kept thinking back to Julian Castro. Now, y'all might not remember that name, but for those of you who don't know who he is, Julian Castro is the former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under Barack Obama. He was also a candidate for president in 2020. Very briefly. Very, very briefly. And in 2019, he made a statement in various ways and in various formats that made everybody in the Democrat Party go up in arms. And he said, Joe Biden has cognitive decline. Or more or less words to that effect. May have phrased it a little differently, but you get the idea. And everybody in the Democrat Party went ape. They went nuts. How dare you? You're engaging in ageism. He's 77 years old. There's nothing wrong with Joe. He's perfectly fine. I mean, look at him. Yeah, he has a moment where he has the occasional gaffe, but it's Joe Biden. He's been doing this for 50 years. He's always had the occasional gaffe. Which, I mean, you could think about it and you could say to yourself, okay, I could believe that argument. I could see it. I believe it. I could kind of see it. And Julian Castro, because he was a relatively minor candidate, he dropped out of the race fairly quickly. He endorsed Elizabeth Warren, a.k.a. Hiawatha. And on things went in the Democrat primaries. Well, we all know what happened. Jim Clyburn endorsed Joe Biden in South Carolina. He blew out Bernie Sanders. Barack Obama made phone calls on behalf of Joe, got everybody else to drop out of the race, and Joe became the Democrat nominee. But all through that campaign, especially after, and I want you guys to remember back on this. I want you to think about it. And if I'm wrong, feel free to tell me, okay? But all through that campaign, after Julian Castro made that observation about Biden, certain little things would happen, and you sit there and you start going, is he really okay? I mean, for example, Joe is on stage somewhere celebrating a primary victory, and Jill, his wife, is up there, and then Joe's sister's on the other side. And Joe looks at her and says, yeah, my wife. Now, and Jill very quickly steps in. No, I'm over here. You remember that one? You remember that? And it would happen frequently throughout the campaign. And all of a sudden, people began to look at Joe and they began to realize, hey, I mean, look, no offense to Joe. I don't agree with him politically, but I think something's wrong with the poor guy. No. You right-wingers, you Republicans, you conservatives, you populists out there, You just don't like Joe Biden. You don't like his politics. You don't like anything else about him. No one's going to believe you. There's nothing wrong with Joe. He's perfectly fine. You guys you're just making an issue out of his age. Look at him. He's perfectly fine. Even his own staff realized he had a problem. Even those closest to him realized he's going to have good days and bad days. I think I do remember that, as a matter of fact. I think I do. His staff knew that Joe was in cognitive decline. And the Wall Street Journal has just confirmed what we, the American people, not have we only suspected it. We've known this for 5 years about him. TBA says, Brian, we have been flim-flammed for 4 years. I don't think we've been flim-flammed, TBA. We've known this about Biden. And Chris, I saw your note over there on Rumble, brother. Merry Christmas. Glad you're able to stay with us for the time you were. Catch up with you soon. TBA, I don't think we were flim-flammed. We knew he had problems. Now, we might disagree to the degree which he had them, but I don't think we were flim-flammed. I think the American people who don't necessarily pay attention to politics, I think they were flim-flammed, but I'm not even so sure they were. I mean, even to the most casual observer of the news, when you'd watch Joe Biden out somewhere, you had to sit there and think to yourself, is he okay? I mean, the first time it happens, you sit there and go, okay, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just kind of, I don't watch Joe Biden on it. I'm talking about the average person that consumes the news. This is what I'm trying to convey here. They're looking at Joe going, well, I don't watch the news all the time. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm, taking this video clip out of context, or maybe I'm not listening to his speech correctly, or whatever. The first time the average consumer of the news would see something like what we all observed on a regular basis, and they say, But the second or the third time, or the fourth time, or the fifth or the sixth, or more and more and more and more and more and more throughout his presidency, the American people weren't going to be flim-flammed anymore. They could look at the emperor and go, he is naked as a jaybird. No, he is not wearing a nice-looking suit of clothes. The emperor is naked as jaybird. Translation, whether they liked Joe Biden, didn't like Joe Biden, they were Democrats, they were Republicans, they were independents, they were whatever, they looked at Joe Biden and realized, oh, bless his heart, Grandpa's got problems. $70 million people are going to vote Democrat. Well, that's true. That's true too. That is true too. But what does that say about them? And it actually says something about them that I'm going to talk about with the press. So for 4 or 5 years, this audience, other conservatives out there, other populists, libertarians, moderate, whatever you want to call them, everybody could look at Joe Biden and realize he's got a problem. But now you've got the Wall Street Journal, and I have not seen the companion piece in the New York Times, by the way. I haven't seen it yet. But you've got elements of the mainstream media saying, well, it's quite obvious now there was a cover-up to deceive the American people about the cognitive decline of Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Duh. You don't say. Excuse me. You don't say there was a cover-up. Really? You don't say that we couldn't figure out that his staff in the White House was lying to us. I mean, to you folks in the mainstream media, and I don't know if any of you will ever see this live stream or not, but seriously, how stupid do you think we, the American people, are? We think we're blind? We can't see it? The man was senile. He was senile when he got put into office. He was senile throughout this term of office. His staff limited his interactions with the cabinet, with members of Congress, with the press, with everybody. And you thought we were so dumb we couldn't see it? Like I said, even the average consumer of the news, who maybe is not as political as we are, is watching this and they're going, this guy is not, this guy is about, 3 fries short of a full Happy Meal. The pillow needs more stuffing. Whatever term you want to use to describe it, bless his heart, he's not up to the job. Yet the mainstream media and people in his cabinet and official Washington kept telling all of us, oh, you guys are wrong. You're crazy. He's perfectly fine. He's good. There's nothing wrong with Joe, yada, yada, yada. And you don't believe me on that point? You don't believe me? Oh, kids, have I got something to show you? Let me take you down and let you listen to the Grooveyard of Forgotten Favorites in 2024. Joe Scarborough. Okay? Morning Joe has the following to say about everybody's favorite president, Joe Biden. Remember, we're the ones that were crazy. Now we've got this story in the Wall Street Journal, and it really makes stuff like this absolutely just your blood boil. Watch this.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
We knew that Joe Biden was full of crap like a Christmas goose. We all knew it. You knew it. I knew it. Anybody that could watch Joe Biden knew it. And they kept opening our mouths up and funneling in crap by the shovelful, putting it down our throats. There's nothing wrong with Joe. This is the best version of Joe Biden ever. He's amazing intellectually. This is the best. I mean, just they made him out to be Superman with gray hair and a lisp and a confused turn on the stage and shaking. I mean, you get my point. They kept telling everybody there's nothing wrong with Joe. And now we're finding out, or maybe better, let me rephrase that. We are having confirmed not only our suspicions, but what we knew about Joe Biden all along. The American people, who don't necessarily pay attention to politics all the time, they're having their suspicions confirmed. Oh, and this is absolutely true. This is absolutely true. That man is an angry, he's a bully. He's a bully and he's a coward. And frankly, that piece in the Wall Street Journal causes some very disturbing questions. Very disturbing. If he kept getting worse, which, by the way, the article does allude to that. And again, I really recommend you read this thing. It's good. It's solid. But if he was having bad days the further into his term that he went, who was running the country? Matter of fact, who's running the country right now? We've got less than 30 days till Trump is inaugurated back into the presidency. Who's running the country right now? Yeah, I know we're at Christmas. Yada, yada, yada. I get it. Who's running the country right now? Who's making these decisions to launch American missiles into Russia? Who's making decisions about the military in the remaining 30 days until we get a new president? Who's making decisions to try to forgive billions of dollars of student debt? Who's running the country? Is it Kamala? We don't know. Is it his cabinet? Probably. I don't know. It sure ain't Joe Biden. Where was Joe Biden on what happened in the last 72 hours on government funding? Where's Joe Biden been on any major issue ever since the election? Where is he? Don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily want him showing up because he does on his best day when his brain is functioning, he's a disaster. But my point is, he is president of the United States, for better or worse, right or wrong. Where is the guy? Now, for all my ranting about this subject, and again, my apologies, we are 4 days away from Christmas. Who am I the most angry with? I am angry at Jill Biden, but I'm not the most angry at her. I'm angry at some of his cabinet secretaries, Blinken. Yeah, I mean, Blinken, Sullivan. There's some names there. I'm angry as Chief of Staff Ron Klain. I'm angry at any number of different things. Any of those people. Mike Donnellan. His poll. I'm angry at all those people, but I'm not the most angry at them. I'm not even the most angry at congressional Democrats. Because all those people had various reasons for hiding from most Americans how bad off Joe Biden was. Maybe they were doing it for personal gain. Maybe they were doing it for whatever. Who am I the most angry at? I'm the most angry at the press. I really am. Now, I can just hear some of y'all out there right now, and you know what? You'd be justified in saying it. Brian, you're being naive about this. The press is just like Jill Biden and Anthony Blinken and Jake Sullivan and all these cats. They have an incentive to make sure Joe Biden stays in. Of course, they're ideological liberals or progressives at best or worst. No, I'll tell you why I'm angry at them. And again, this comes from a little bit of naivete. I get it. But, you know, in the traditions that I grew up in, the press is supposed to be the fourth estate. They are supposed to hold government accountable. And granted, the press hasn't done that in this country for years. Okay, so I get that. But regardless of partisanship, regardless of ideology, regardless of, yeah, you know what, I'm a registered Democrat as a reporter and he's a Democrat and I want to see him, win re-election. Okay, lay all that aside. Okay, you people in the press, you have a responsibility to the American people to tell them the truth. Yeah, I know that's very old-fashioned and naive on my part, but I do remember some things about that from back in school. I do happen to remember that we actually expect an honest press to hold politicians, regardless of party. We actually expect that they be held accountable, And I'm, call me crazy if you wish, but I'm sure the American people would have liked to have known much earlier on than they find out now that the President of the United States is in cognitive decline. TBA over on Rumble says, Brian, you've been lied to. The press has never been the fourth estate, not since before 1871. Probably right. Probably true. But you know what? It still doesn't cause me to be any less angry. Yeah, this is a good point, too. Very good point. The Mockingbird Press is, I believe, what you call them, and you are absolutely right in reference to Operation Mockingbird. But let me expand my point a little bit further as to why I'm angry. There are 13 dead Marines that never would have had to have died. Maybe. If the American people would have known way early on that the man that the Democrat Party was trying to put into the White House was in cognitive decline and not up to the job mentally. So there's 13 reasons right there why I'm pissed. I'm pissed for all the people in the United States or around the world that are dead because the American press would not tell the American people the truth. And the part that just galls me even more when I think about it, they knew. This piece in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, its accompanying piece that goes along with it, this stuff has been known, has absolutely been known by the press in Washington, D.C. I go back to a podcast that Chuck Todd did. Chuck Todd of NBC News. He had Jonathan Martin of Politico.com on his show one day. They were discussing this. Both of them, to a man, said to each other, it was the worst kept secret in Washington, D.C. that Joe Biden was in cognitive decline. The press knew it as early as, early 2022. They might have suspected it in 2021, but they more or less knew. Cabinet secretaries were telling them, yeah, he's got problems. Why did they not say anything about it? Why did Chuck Todd not come out about it? Why did Jonathan Martin of Politico not say anything about it? Well, they were telling us this stuff on background, and we really can't. What? You guys can't figure out how to take it from background to foreground? You guys couldn't figure out how to save the American people that much misery? You braying jackasses? My God. How much have the American people suffered because of your indolence, your laziness, your willing to turn the blind eye, stick your head in the sand, whatever analogy you want to use? How many people have died because of what you've done? Oh, let us count the numbers. How much suffering have people done, not just here in the United States, but around the world, because you wouldn't tell the people the truth? A truth, by the way, they can see with their own eyes. They can look at the man and tell. They didn't necessarily need you to confirm it in the press, but you know what? You kind of had the obligation to do it. Oh my God. And now at the end, so the press can go, they can wash their hands of their sin. They can pull a Pontius Pilate and put out articles like this, and articles like what you're going to read in the New York Times. So they can say they did their job. They told the American people the truth. Well, you're about 5 years too late, you mother effers. And let me tell you guys in the press something. Chuck Todd, Jonathan Martin, New York Times, Joe Scarborough. The blood of all the dead that have died under Joe Biden's watch, it's on you. Every last mother's son of you. It's on you. You had a chance to tell the American people the truth, to confirm their suspicions, and you could have done it, and you didn't. And now those 13 Marines in Afghanistan, the hundreds of Afghanis who died, various other Americans around the world, the J6ers who are still in jail, the American people who've suffered under inflation and job losses, who are now trying to figure out how to make ends meet, you could have had a hand in preventing all of that. Yeah, so let me ask you a question, you folks in the press. Was hating Donald Trump really worth all that to you? That you sacrificed your principles and your supposed journalistic integrity, and you flushed it all down the toilet in the name of getting this man in, Joe Biden, who you knew was not mentally fit for the job. Was it worth it? And if you do think it was worth it, please go to some places in Pennsylvania and Ohio, or go down to North Carolina even. Oh, yeah, I'm sure that people getting over Hurricane Helene would love to hear you justify how it was so worth it to make sure that Joe Biden got in office. Now, that's a good question. That's a fair question, by the way. They did. But I could make and you're right, they did. Some of them, I mean, matter of fact, I remember Christopher Hitchens very early on, before the diagnosis about Reagan came out. The legendary Christopher Hitchens was saying Reagan was in some form of cognitive decline. But I would argue two different eras of the press. Back then, you actually had a press that would actually try and be honest with the American people. Or at least they were willing to question the actions of government. So, I'll give you that, but I would argue two different eras of the American press. But you're right. You're absolutely right about that. Yeah, and that's to my point. if you're the average consumer of the news and you're watching Joe Biden, you could say, it's a single gaffe, but 5 of them, 5 years of gaffes. Yeah, 5 years of gaffes. No. Yeah. Excuse me. TBA says the 80s press corps was just as sleazy as ours today. Okay, fair point. Fair point. And WWG1 says they never questioned Clinton, only Reagan. Good point, too. Now, TBA, you got to really... The only good thing about all this is that the American people will never trust the mainstream media again. Oh, that is so true, brother. That is so true. Hang on. I got to find this. Because you know what? I've got a clip here. If I can find this real fast. But and the worst part is, TBA, they know it. Let me find this clip. Oh, please tell me. Please tell me that I can find this. Oh, this is great. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Hang on. The press knows that no one trusts them anymore. Leslie Stahl of CBS News was on a panel post-election. And she had some comments about the legacy media. And TBA, to go to your point, not only do the American people not trust the press knows they're not trusted anymore. This clip is absolutely great. Watch this.
If you watch the opinion of us, how many people trust the press anymore? I mean, we're way down there with the lawyers.
Yeah.
This is really rough,
Yeah.
as you know.
You're way down there with Congress.
I despair. Seriously, I worry greatly. We're at a point where if the president of the United States is going to say legacy media is dead, well, I guess Musk said that. Legacy media is dead.
And he wants it dead. He wants other media.
But it is kind of sort of hobbling right now. And I don't know how it recovers. I'm very dark about it.
Well, I could think of a really simple way, Leslie, for media to recover. How about you guys tell the truth? How about you tell the unvarnished truth? How about you tell the American people, okay, this is what's going on, and you guys make up your mind about what you think about it? How about that? How about getting back to the days of the citizen journalist? How about getting back to a principle that says, I'm not here to make Democrats happy or Republicans happy or conservatives happy or liberals happy, or I'm just here to tell you what's going on. And you guys be smart enough to make up your own mind. Oh, fair point. Absolutely fair point. Fair point indeed. And yeah, Gypsy, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah. But yeah, the press is now trying to engage in their mea culpa. And guess what? They've discovered, shockingly, that Joe Biden was in cognitive decline, and his staff covered it up from the American people. Oh my God. We talked about what is the legacy of Joe Biden. Let me show you how he's going to be remembered. It's real simple. How is he going to be remembered? He's going to be remembered for this. He's going to be remembered at the end for being an old man led around by his wife and his grandchildren. He will not be remembered for significant accomplishments. He won't be remembered for foreign policy triumphs. He'll be remembered much the way that Robert Hur, the special prosecutor, declared him to be. A well-intentioned old man with a failing memory, doddering off into the sunset. That is how Joe Biden is going to be remembered. Like I say to you people in the American press, I hope it was worth it. I really do. The sacrifice of your principles, the suffering of the American people, Americans who are dead. You could have stopped this. Or at a minimum, you could have told the people the truth. Now, whether they vote him in or not after that is one thing. But you knew this. You knew all this way back when. And you did nothing about it. You helped put him in. And you contributed to the suffering of your fellow citizens. Their suffering, and in some cases, their blood, is on you. Just think about that. Their suffering and their blood is on the hands of the American media. You people in the press, you think about that at Christmas. And if you even have a modicum of a conscience, it ought to bother you. I'm just saying. All right. Tell you what, let us move off of this topic, or maybe better say move off of this compartment in the train, and we'll start getting ready for some HodgePodge stew. And before we do, let me do a real quick commercial. And first of all, I want to thank you guys for being here. I mean, it's like 4 days to Christmas, and we're getting to hang out together, and you're choosing to hang out with me, and I genuinely do appreciate it. You've tolerated all of my ranting and my goings on and everything else. So all of it is greatly appreciated. But if you are new here and you've happened on this live stream and you're like, who the heck is this guy going on? Well, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm known as the Front Porch Conservative. And you have found your way to a live stream that I do on the weekends called Front Porch Brunch. Get together, talk about some of the items in the news, and we hang out together. And as you've been seeing from the chat, whether you're on Rumble or YouTube or wherever, we've got a lively bunch over here, genuinely lively bunch over here. So always glad to have you guys in the audience. Like I said, especially 4 days before Christmas. People are going to start traveling. They got holiday shopping to do. They're doing cleaning the house, whatever. So like I say, glad to have you guys here so much. It is really, really appreciated. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, why don't you go ahead and sub to me on YouTube, on Rumble. You can follow me on Twitter and become a part of our audience. We would genuinely appreciate it. All right. We are now headed for that section of the show called HodgePodge Stew. And for those of you who've never been here before, or as I was explaining to the lady this morning, HodgePodge Stew are those collection of stories that aren't necessarily above the internet fold, so to speak, but they are things worth talking about. And there's some pretty big ones in our pot of stew today. And one of them is something that's just, it breaks the heart, especially at the holiday season. And I'm not just saying that either. I truly do mean it. Did you guys hear about what happened in Germany? Oh, gosh. Like I said, this one will break your heart. Our first story in HodgePodge Stew, at least 2 dead. Well, actually, it's more than that now. And at least 70 injured when car plows into German Christmas market. Now, don't you love the fact they said the car plowed in? Not the person driving the car. But minor technical difference, but still very important. A car plowed into people visiting a Christmas market in Magdeburg, Germany on Friday, killing at least 2 and injuring at least 70 others, according to German officials. German authorities are treating the incident as terrorism, U.S. law enforcement sources told ABC News. A young child and an adult were killed in the attack, according to Saxony-Anhalt Prime Minister Rainer Hasselhoff. So there's that, but there's a bit more to it. At least more details started coming out. From the UK Daily Mail, German Christmas market ramming is the latest attack to use vehicles as deadly weapons. This is from the Associated Press. A car ramming at a Christmas market in Germany, which police are labeling as an attack, is the latest in a grim series of events in which vehicles have been used as deadly weapons. There have been a spate of such attacks over the past decade, some committed by groups, but most by individuals. The motives, where they could be established, have varied widely. Some were inspired by Islamic militant groups such as Al-Qaeda and ISIS, which encourage followers to carry out low-cost, low-tech attacks with cars and trucks. Others have been linked to mental illness, far-right extremism, and online misogyny. So there you have that. Now, I've got a video here. It's very brief, and I'm going to warn you now, this is an image captured of what happened. Okay? If you do not want to watch it, I understand completely. And again, you know what? No, I'm not even going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. Just not going to do it. But yeah, at least 10 that I know of are dead. Hang on a minute. Let me do something real fast here, because I want to get an accurate number. Let me see if this story's been updated. Hang on a second, because I want to try being accurate about this as I can. 11:32 a.m. Okay, that's how it's been updated. Okay, from the Associated Press. A 9-year-old was among 5 people killed when a Saudi doctor drove into a Christmas market teeming with holiday shoppers in the German city of Magdeburg, an official said Saturday, as people mourn the victims and their shaken sense of security. City official Ronnie Krug said he didn't have further information on the adults who were killed on Friday. He said 200 people were injured, of whom 41 in serious or very serious condition. Prosecutor Horst Nopens said the suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor, is under investigation on suspicion of murder, attempted murder, and bodily harm. He is currently being questioned. He has lived in Germany since 2006, practicing medicine in Bernburg, about 25 miles south of Magdeburg, Germany, officials said. There is no more peaceful and cheerful place than a Christmas market, Chancellor Olaf Scholz said. What a terrible act it is to injure and kill so many people there with such brutality. Neurosurgeon Mahmoud Elenbabi said some 80 patients were brought to Magdeburg's University Hospital on Friday night. We managed to stabilize most of them, but many of them are still in intensive care, and some of them are also in critical condition, Elenbabi told the Associated Press as he dashed into the hospital cafeteria to buy himself a cola. Wow. Really? Now, I had not heard that, Gypsy. And I haven't necessarily had a chance to deep dive into that one, but that's weird. If that's true, that's weird. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm kind of like you. That's kind of like, whoosh. That's a weird twist on it. So yes, if you're offering up prayers, say a prayer for those folks, because Lord knows they could use it right now. They could definitely use it. Very sad indeed. Oh, goodness me, goodness me. All right. What else do we have here? Well, I hope that Liz Cheney, even though she's not a member of Congress anymore, I hope she's got a lot of money ready to pay out for some lawyers because it seems like she might need it. We didn't get a chance to talk about this when it first broke, but it's definitely worth bringing up now. Liz has got a whole bunch of problems on her hands. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check this one out. From the Post-Millennial, House report recommends FBI investigation into Liz Cheney over alleged witness tampering on January 6th committee. Uh-oh. She is accused of colluding with witness Cassidy Hutchinson. Article by Libby Emmons, one of my favorites out there. And by the way, Libby, if you ever see this, love to have you on the front porch sometime. Matter of fact, hang on. I got to jot myself a note here. If there's any way to get a hold of that girl, I would love to talk to Libby. Matter of fact, that might be a good first of the year interview if I can get a hold of her. Anyway, from Libby Emmons of the Post-Millennial, we've got the following. A new report released Tuesday from Representative Barry Loudermilk and the House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight states that former Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney should be investigated for possible criminal activity stemming from her work on the House Select Committee on January 6th. She is accused of colluding with witness Cassidy Hutchinson, who testified before the committee and was an aide to Mark Meadows' chief of staff. The report reads, based on the evidence obtained by this subcommittee, numerous federal laws were likely broken by Liz Cheney, the former vice chair of the J6 committee, and these violations should be investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Evidence uncovered by the subcommittee revealed that former Congresswoman Liz Cheney tampered with at least one witness, Cassidy Hutchinson, by secretly communicating with Hutchinson without Hutchinson's attorney's knowledge. This is secret communication with a witness is improper and likely violates 18 U.S.C. 1512. Such action is outside the due functioning of the legislative process and therefore not protected by the Speech and Debates Clause. The Federal Bureau of Investigation should also investigate Representative Cheney for violating 18 U.S.C. 1622, which prohibits any person from procuring another person to commit perjury. Based on the evidence obtained by the subcommittee, Hutchinson committed perjury when she lied under oath to the Select Committee. Additionally, Hutchinson was interviewed by the FBI as part of its investigation into President Trump. This subcommittee sought a copy of the FBI Report 302, documenting this interview and Hutchinson's statements, but the FBI has refused to produce this vital document. The FBI must immediately review the testimony given by Hutchinson in the interview to determine if she also lied in her FBI interview, and if so, the role former Representative Cheney played in instigating Hutchinson to radically change her testimony. So there you go. Oh, Liz, she's got some problems on her hands. Lawyer up, girl. Lawyer up. Zippy says, going back to that previous story, the dude in Germany was an atheist Zionist. Something. Sounds like a holy war shenanigan. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's definitely a twist on it. Jeez. Liz Cheney has to be prosecuted. The electorate doesn't get some red meat. The midterms will be... Fair point. Fair point. TBA over on Rumble says the Title 18 chapters include treason. Okay. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Interesting. All right. What else do we have here in way of HodgePodge stew? Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. So, happened about a week or so ago, but definitely worth commenting on. Did you guys see the story about old George Stephanopoulos and ABC News having to settle with Donald Trump? This was great, by the way. So, if you have not seen this, Hang on one second. This is probably one of the best stories coming or going out there. This is funny. Funny as all get out. From the Associated Press, ABC agrees to give $15 million to Donald Trump's presidential library to settle a defamation lawsuit. Article by Michael Sisak of the Associated Press, Dateline, New York. ABC has agreed to pay $15 million toward Donald Trump's presidential library to settle a defamation lawsuit over anchor George Stephanopoulos' inaccurate on-air assertion that the president-elect has been found civilly liable for raping writer E. Jean Carroll. As part of the settlement made public Saturday, ABC News posted an editor's note on its website expressing regret over Stephanopoulos' statements during a March 10th segment on his This Week program. The network will also pay $1 million in legal fees to the law firm of President Trump and Alejandro Brito. The settlement agreement describes ABC's presidential library payment as a charitable contribution, with the money earmarked for a non-for-profit organization that is being established in connection with a yet-to-be-built library. We are pleased that the parties have reached an agreement to dismiss the lawsuit in terms in a filing in the court. So there you go. Now, okay. Do I necessarily want to see news organizations sued like this? No, not necessarily. Lawsuits have all kinds of effects, or they're intended for all kinds of reasons, okay? Some of them are brought against news organizations to basically silence them. In this case, I don't think that's necessarily what Donald Trump was trying to do. George Stephanopoulos flat out said something that was completely and absolutely untrue and defamed the reputation of Donald Trump doing it. Yeah, sue him. TBA says, yes, sue the pants off all of them. I don't disagree with you. If it's being done for that reason, okay, yes. But it also gets to another interesting question. Why did ABC settle this? Well, a lot of people are speculating, and I can't necessarily disagree with them, that George Stephanopoulos and ABC News did not want this to get to a discovery phase where somebody gets to start going through emails, text messages, etc., to find out who old Georgie boy was communicating with. So ABC got real smart real fast and said, we'll just pay you off and make this go away. I don't know if this is going to go away. I mean, we just said it a little while ago. Nobody trusts the press anymore. Stuff like this is just one more reason why. But anyway, TBA says the discovery phase would show that Trump was innocent. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a real good point. Yeah, how about y'all get on your knees and admit that y'all covered for Biden? That'd be a good one. That'd be nice. Will they do it? Kind of doubt it, but it would be nice. All right. It's almost 1 o'clock on a Saturday, and I know you guys have got stuff to do, and so do I. So we're going to go ahead and bring this train into the station. I want to thank you guys for being here for Front Porch Brunch. This has been really fun, as always. And you guys make it entertaining with the comments and memes and everything you guys do. So I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Start getting ready for Christmas. We will be back here Monday night at 7:30 for Chatting on the Porch. And we're going to get ready for the Christmas season. So as always, you guys have been absolutely fantastic. We'll be back Monday night, 7:30 right here. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment in chat, do all that crazy stuff that you guys do. In the meanwhile, you guys have a great, well, hang on, before I go, TBA says, what's the show schedule for next week? Monday and Tuesday, faux show, Wednesday is Christmas. Bless your hearts. I love you guys, but go spend time with your families. Probably going to be back here Thursday. Might do a Friday. And definitely we'll be back next Saturday morning in one degree or another. So love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. You are totally awesome. Enjoy your weekend. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, it's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money. We'll see you guys Monday night, 7:30 Eastern. Have a great weekend.